Italians of Reddit. How do you feel about the way other countries are currently handling the pandemic? Italian here with the real question: why toilet paper? We ran out of flour, yeast and mozzarella. That I can understand. Because you eat it. But toilet paper? Question mark? Italian here. I'd say that generally the news report that other countries are following our example by adopting those measures we implemented in the first place. So we are somewhat glad that other countries are doing their job. However, given the situation, we're frustrated when we see that despite those measures people are still going outside and panic buying and the like. We especially feel sorry for the next hit country in Europe. Spain. Stay strong, lads. Some people here have started to have anti-EU sentiments after some problems we had with the ECB, and we try to stay positive by thinking that, given that we were one of the first countries to get the disease, we might be among the first to recover and have a head start when it comes to production and exports. And we hope that we have a head start on the economy as a whole. I live closer to Bergamo. Everyone believes, as far as I know, that most countries reacted slow and did the same mistakes we did. If everyone would have just taken this seriously, many lives would have been and would be saved in the future. However, governments chose to keep the countries open as long as possible to not have more severe economical repercussions. At this stage most Italians are really focused themselves. Except the brief mention of cases in other countries in the mainstream media. Stay home. Stay safe. Why did it take so much for you to close down? Exclamation point. I was terrified to see stadiums full of people for Champions League. Guys, we have the army that needs to move bodies from Bergamo to other cities because the crematorium can't run fast enough. There is a town that in previous years averaged 35 deaths from January to March. This year they registered 158 deaths. And only 31 of those are officially by COVID. There's shortage of coffins. And of funeral directors. Because they're getting sick as well. This is freaking serious. Japan here. Japan for a week or so believed itself almost immune to COVID-19. There were multiple things on Twitter blowing up about how people were saying that because the Japanese were hygienic and washed their hands, wore masks regularly, the virus hadn't spread rapidly. However, a lot of other people believed that they were actually artificially keeping the numbers low because they wanted the Olympics to go ahead. There were reports of a lot of people being turned away for testing. In the last few days Tokyo's numbers have doubled and are speeding up at an alarming pace. Japan has like no time to react, and today Prime Minister Abe came out saying a lockdown would be bad for the economy. So we learned nothing. I'm an Italian that lives in Norway. I have family in Milan. I was following Italian news outlets as this was starting. It was incredibly stressful seeing this gradually ramp up while Norway was doing nothing. There was this strong mentality of this is not our problem, as it began to spread here. Finally Norway went into lockdown 12th of March. I have Norwegian friends that live in England who are experiencing that same fear I initially had of why isn't our government doing anything? There seems to be this constant lag caused by world leaders not truly understanding the magnitude of this. Or just not wanting to risk their economy. Edit. The meme rip to your grandma but I'm different is now real life. Greek here. Our government had a super fast reaction to the whole situation and forced us to stay home when the deaths in our country were less than 10. 1 week later and less than 30 people have died in our country out of the 10. 000 we have. So not all countries reacted late. In Italy we decided to do whatever it takes to stop the infection regardless of the economical repercussions, even though we initially underestimated what would have been sufficient to stop it. I can't understand how some countries ever considered that they could do nothing. That would have caused huge amounts of deaths just for almost nothing. I am glad everyone came to reason, but they wasted precious time and people have died because of that. Hey from Brazil, we're boned. I'm Brazilian and I'm freaking pissed with what Jair Bolsonaro, current president, said. That MF said that coronavirus is just another flu and that we shall continue our normal lives. I'm so freaking lucky I moved to Canada before this happened. But I'm worried ASF for my friends and family that are out there partying and not knowing what's creeping behind the corner just waiting to get inside of you. Italian here. Nothing more to add. Just this, stay home if you can. And stay safe. Italian here. Most countries wasted the time advantage they had. They could have locked down sooner and better. And they could have arranged more IQs in their hospitals. They have been waiting for the wave to reach the shore and then started running. And USA is still staring the horizon. Italian here. Living in the north but we only have 16 cases in our 30,000 people town. So covered looks distant. But the situation here is really serious. I'm glad our government, unfortunately but righteously seen as a joke abroad, has responded in such an heavy way. While other states were still having concerts and whatnot, looking at you, France. Other than that, supermarkets are open. And they are almost fully stocked. So no big deal. The only semi-serious problem we have right now is that gas stations could close in the next days for a strike of the gas station guys. That cannot ensure a safe and healthy service for either the customers or themselves anymore. We'll wait and see. Live in Korea where things exploded before Italy. Wasn't surprised that Europe learned nothing from us, but it seems that other European countries learned nothing whatsoever from Italy and made all of the same mistakes. I mean, how stupid do you have to be to see it exploding in Italy a few weeks back and not even screen people flying in from Italy? I'm proud of my country. I'm a New Zealander and we went into lockdown officially a couple days ago. We only had around 100 cases then and we went straight for a level 4 lockdown for a month. There's ads telling everyone what to do, how to do it and why we need to do it. Our leaders have also put a ban of rental companies evicting people for the next 5 months. I freaking love New Zealand. I live in Belgium and what strikes me the most is how our local corona strategy is entirely based on reaction rather than prevention. I happened to travel to Milan on the fateful weekend of the 22nd to the 23rd of February to see my family. I got a temperature check after landing in MXP. No checks when I landed back in Belgium. Went through a lot of trouble at work because the government guidelines still stated that even if traveling back from an affected area, including China and Italy, we should go back to our daily lives and only stay home after, if, we developed symptoms. I ended up self-isolating for the sake of my colleagues and their families. Half of them thought I was overreacting. Guidelines have changed since then, of course. But it baffles me how the baseline is always the same. No need for stricter lockdown until our hospitals are on the verge of collapse. I'm not very attached at all to my passport country. But I've been following Italian guidelines since the very beginning because it just feels irresponsible to be doing anything else. Italian here but living in Taiwan. All the countries have waited too much before to start reacting. Measures are implemented to avoid the already high rate of infection in the country. The problem have already spread pretty big when are putted in action measures that are reasonably very strict. Looking from here, all of this look kind of unbelievable. The Taiwanese government have taken a very proactive stance and started in January to screen incoming travelers, severe quarantine for all the suspected cases and tracking all the possible connection and quarantining them. There have been 252 cases and mostly from people coming back in the country. The life hasn't changed much. You can go anywhere but your temperature will probably be checked and there will be hand sanitizer for you to use. Italian here. I feel sad. Our government should have done more. And before. And this has cost lives. Now your governments aren't doing enough. And they are doing it too late. You have wasted a few precious weeks. And that will spell disaster. Especially in the US, where healthcare is not so readily available to everyone. Also, your polarization has managed to transform this into a political issue. And this will cost even more lives. but my freedom. So, in good part it's up to the people to be proactive. There isn't much you can do as an individual if there are hundreds of other idiots mingling. But at least try and minimize contacts. It's the time to leave herd mentality. Don't be ashamed wearing face masks if nobody else does. For example, you don't have proper face masks. Make them yourself in cloth. It's not as effective, but any reduction in probability helps. Wear glasses. Or sunglasses. Don't have hand cleaner? Alcohol helps. Frick. Even washing hand help. I love the irony of what is happening in Brazil. Their idiot-in-chief, Bolsonaro, invites people to go out. Thugs and gangsters are in the streets warning people to stay at home. Stay safe, people. And brace yourselves. I'm from Croatia, but I'm living in northern Italy for a while. When the virus appeared in China, no one in Italy took it seriously until they didn't realize that it's here. The same thing happened in Croatia when the virus appeared in Italy. The same thing happened all around the world. And now, it's too late. At Women's Day, Italy was 2 weeks in quarantine when France decided to make a party with 4,000 Smurfs, and Spain make a protest with 120,000 feminist. Just saying. Not Italian, but us military station near Lombardy. I feel like America is wholly unprepared. We have been locked down since the beginning of March and have restrictions on basically everything. Coffee shops? Closed. Barber shops? Closed. Your favorite restaurant? Closed. You get the picture. If I didn't have the base, I have no idea how I'd still be healthy. The world needs to take drastic measures if it's going to get better. Some countries would rather keep their way of life than make a change, and it's very unfortunate. Italian here. I remember the French tearing us apart as usual. There was a French TV spot where someone took out of the oven a coronavirus shaped pizza. Real funny, except even France isn't laughing now. Also, I was astounded and dumbfounded with England and their Prime Minister saying they would go for herd immunity or something of the like. English streets were busy for weeks while we were on lockdown. Stay safe, everyone. I'm about to put on my mask and go to work. Why is the US still open? Like, don't you see what happens here? Our healthcare was ranked second in the world and it's still overwhelmed. Imagine without free Medicare. My best advice is close up instantly. Also, to the rest of Europe. Their news, it's like reading a newspaper from the past. Island here. Got to say, I'm proud of my government's response. Sure, we waited until it was at our shores and there was a few confirmed cases before taking action, but the people really pulled together by staying apart. Almost 20 days after our first infection, and although there was 10 deaths yesterday, that was more than all days previous combined. The government has issued emergency payment to anyone out of work and has nationalized the private healthcare system, which doubled our capacity for hospitalizations. I fear the worst is yet to come, but it certainly looks like we have flattened the curve to a manageable degree. I think most countries have been handling it poorly. People like to blame China because they need someone to blame. But it isn't like we had no warnings and this came unexpected. As soon as Wuhan was put on complete lockdown, everyone should have been alarmed and countries should have stopped flights to and from China immediately, as well as start testing people. Some Asian countries like South Korea did a great job. But most countries just didn't care until it started hitting Italy and Europe heavily. That was over a month time to prepare. It was also just after Italy put the country on complete lockdown that other countries slowly followed the example. Many with less strict rules than Italy. Those countries that waited longest to react and spend their money rather on military than healthcare will have to suffer the most. South Africa here. I am happy with the way our government handled our lockdown. I'm a New Zealander and even our local gangs have quarantined their drug dealers. I mean, if they feel concerned, then maybe the rest of the world should take a few notes. Lol, sadly it's gonna be a while until my next high. Italian here. Just baffled that other countries didn't look at us when it was starting and think, we should probably do something or we might be fricked. I mean, we didn't do nothing when it started in China either. Well, too late now. Please be safe and stay home. I'm Italian, and when my country started to close down I was chatting with a friend of mine from France who was downplaying the whole thing since everyone there said that it was only a strong flu. I was terribly saddened to see such a behavior ignoring our very real struggles and in a way depicting us as overly preoccupied whiners. Fast forward 7 days and the effing president of France speaks at the nation declaring national emergency and talking of war against an invisible enemy. I'll sincerely hope that, after defying this, things people start to trust others on critical matters like life and risks like this. A lot of innocent people died only because some governments acted as know-it-alls. And that's an incredible shame. Sorry if my English isn't that correct. Be safe.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.